Yes, namaste and welcome everyone for today's webinar on Sanskrit or Samskritam, from script to scriptures. I've learned that Sanskritam has such a rich structure. We know that it has cultural resonance, and intuitively, we know it connects learners and us as Hindus to Indian heritage, Dharmic heritage, while enhancing linguistic precision. It is a very precise language. We're going to get into that. And at HUA, at Hindu University of America, our Sanskrit Studies offers two immersive programs at the community education level. One is starting with Devanagari script and advancing towards proficiency, and the other focusing on speech, on actually speaking Sanskritam. These programs emphasize reading, writing, understanding, and speaking Sanskritam, allowing direct access to Hindu source texts without reliance on translations. There's a lot that is lost in translation. The certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency offers a comprehensive 4-year journey into mastering Sanskrit for students aged 14 and above, focusing on reading, writing, speaking, understanding the language. With 24 credits, and there's also all these details. We'll get into that in a little bit. We have our wonderful set of faculty with us today. Let me start by introducing Sri Asoj. He's and truly a much loved and respected faculty member at HUA. He's loved in the community. He presents at mandirs and workshops all around the country. He teaches a popular certificate level course on Hindu rituals, actually several certificate level courses on Hindu rituals. He's taught one called The Introduction to the Vedic Ritual. We just had him on yesterday on Vedic rituals, Vedic chanting Rudram. And he has imbibed Sanskrit learning since childhood from his grandfather, Sri MSS Shastri, who was a Vidyavan, an expert at the Mysore court. Sri Asoji has furthered his studies with 9 years of formal training in Vedas under Acharya Professor Ananta Krishna of Bangalore Sanskrit College. And with his profound knowledge of Shastras, Ashwatji captivates his students with meticulous details that cannot be easily found elsewhere. And since 1995, Sri Aswaji has been teaching Veda and Vedanta to students in the US, while also conducting weekly evening sessions on Hindu scriptures and Sanskrit for various groups in Columbus, Ohio. But he has now moved to Florida, and he's still traveling all around doing all sorts of dharmic work. And he's one of these people who can recite the shloka, the mantra, the scripture, and then explain line by line, word by word, what it means and apply it. So it's a real pleasure to have him on with us today. Additionally, and of course, actually, we have Srimati Parvati Sriram. She is serving as the coordinator of Sanskrit studies at HUA. She's been doing a wonderful job. She is giving so much time and effort. She's just a wonderful person to have. She's a physical therapist by qualification. She has over a decade of experience in teaching Samskritam and Vedanta at various organizations in the US. And at HUA, she leads the certificate programs, both of the programs in Sanskrit studies. Besides HUA, she teaches Samskritam at Arsha Vidya Bharati and has been teaching Vedanta to Balvihar students at Chinmaya Mission since 2013. She continues her Vedanta and Sanskrit learning to deepen her knowledge, and with her knowledge, she's helping us all raise our knowledge. And our third faculty member who's going to be focusing on Sanskrit studies in the community education division is Dr. Surya Narayan Nanda. He's a Sanskrit faculty member at HUA at the community education level. He's a lifelong scholar of Vedic texts and classical Sanskrit literature. He holds a PhD from Utkal University and an MA and Masters of Philosophy from Delhi University, along with a Sahitya Acharya degree from S. Jagannatha Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya in Puri. He has taught at St. Stephen's College, Delhi University, and spent a decade teaching Vedic philosophy at a Gurukul in New Delhi. Dr. Nanda also served as a Sanskrit news broadcaster. Very cool to see that, a Sanskrit news broadcaster for All India Radio and Doordarshan, promoting Sanskrit as a spoken language for 13 years. And since 2012, he has been an Acharya at the Vedic Cultural Center, Arya Samaj of Greater Houston, and has published over 30 articles in Sanskrit, Hindi, and English. With that, let me just give a shout out to anybody else. If you put it in the chat Boss G from Florida, thank you for joining. Arya G, thank you for joining. Dilip G from Maryland, welcome, welcome. With that, let me hand it over to, I think we're going to start with Shriyaswa Ji, who's going to start with why Samskritam? In answering the question. Shriyaswa Ji?
Thank you. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sahanavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Ankurji, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so glad to be here, Parvati ji and Dr. Nandaji. Namaste. I'm honored that you have invited me as part of the panelist. So going off from the question of Ankurji, why it's a wonderful question. I would like to give a one phrase answer. That's also from the Sanskrit. There is a saying, Bharatasya pratishthe dve, Samskritam Samskritis tatha. There are two glories about a concept called Bharata. Please note that when we say Bharata, naturally and immediately, our mind goes to a landmass called India. But the real etymology of the word Bharata is Bha Atmaniyerataha Te Bharataha. That means whoever is contemplating on the self, whoever spiritual spirit expresses him, a person is called as Bharatiya. And this Bharatiya has got two qualities. One quality is that he is a cultured person, Samskriti, and the second quality is that his speech is purified, is perfected, Samskritam. So Bharatasya pratishthe dve, Samskritam Samskritis tata. Therefore, whoever wants to become a Bharatiya, whoever wants to become cultured, to that person, Samskrita is critical. Number one. Number two is, how did this language itself come into being? There is a beautiful mantra from the Rig Veda called the Vak Sukta. In that Vak Sukta, the sage Nemo Bhargava, probably son of Bhrigu Maharshi or possibly a student of Bhrigu Maharshi, who flourished and taught in the Bhrigu Kacha, that is today's Bharuch in Gujarat. And he says that Devim Vacham Ajanayanta Devaha. Please note the plural. Devaha, the Devatas, Vacham Ajanayanta, they created this language. They created this language of Samskritam. So who are the Devatas that was instrumental in bringing out this Samskrita language, starting from Brahma, whose consort is Saraswati, then the Devata who resides in all our sense organs, Indra, the breath force that we have got, Vayu, the body itself, which is represented by Shiva, our voice, which is Gandharva, our wisdom, knowledge, and philosophy, which is Uma, and our meditation, Gayatri, all of these things created Samskrita. Devaha Vachamajanayanta. So that is why it is called Samskritam, a perfected language. It is created by this assembly of gods. So number one, we need to study the language because it is our culture. An expression of culture is through Sanskrit. And number two, it is because this is something that has been created by gods. And number three is for a cultured person who has this Samskrita, this culture, and this beautiful language with him. I am quoting the great dramatist Bhavabhuti, he wrote a drama called Uttara Ramacharita. In this Uttara Ramacharita, to the court of Sri Rama comes Rishyashringa and Shanta's son, Ashtavakra, and he comes there and says, I am bringing a message from sage Vasishta. Do you have anything to say? Then Sri Rama says, for people who are of the worldly, Laukikanam, and those who are of good quality, Sadhunam sha, Artham Vaganavarthate. When they speak, and when they speak, before speaking, they think, they contemplate, and make sure that what they utter is truth. But what about Rishis? Rishinan cha punaradhyanam, the original poets, such as Valmiki, Vyasa, Vacham arthonudhavate, that means they just speak. There's no planning. They just speak. When they speak, it becomes truthful. So the third reason for learning Samskrita is because we are all Laukikas, we are all the worldly people, and we are striving to become good people, sadhunam. We should be able to contemplate before uttering any word. And that contemplation is supported by all these devatas who have created this Samskritam. So we articulate the truth in Samskritam and we speak it out. And then eventually the hope is tapasa, shraddhaya, shramena, by means of meditation, by means of dedication, by means of hard work. If we are able to achieve the status of a rishi, if not in this life, in some coming life, then Samskrita is the portal and Samskrita is a vehicle to take us there. That's the reason, friends, why we should learn Samskrita. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwaji. Now let me share the screen to show you the programs that we have. Now that you've heard why Samskritam, what are the programs that you can enroll in at HUA? So in the fall, we're offering 2 certificate courses, micro certificate in spoken Samskritam and certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency. I'll shortly talk about both these programs and give you an idea of what you will be learning in these programs. Now, as you see, the micro certificate is a course that there are 6 courses and each one lasts for about 3 months. And the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency has 16, and again, each one lasting for about 3 months duration. For both of these, there are eligibility criteria and other things that we will shortly discuss. For you to know what these programs are, how long it will take for you, this would kind of give you an idea. The CPSP or the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency takes about 4 years, and there are no prerequisites for this particular course. So you do not have to know Devanagari, you do not have to have any prior exposure to Samskritam or the Devanagari script itself. You can come as a clean slate and you can start from the alphabets onwards. For the spoken Samskritam, of course, the requirement is that you know how to read and write Devanagari. You need not know Samskritam, but the reading and writing of Devanagari. When I say Devanagari script, it means even Hindi. Hindi and other languages that has similar script. Hindi uses, there are small variations, but it is still, as long as you know how to read even Hindi, that would help with spoken Sanskritam. Going ahead, now the Sanskrit proficiency, it has got 4 phases. As I said, 4 years. Each phase lasts 1 year. I'll talk about the different phases and what it entails later. Now, what does the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency offer? So a beginner who enters the program starts by learning the alphabets. That's the first quarter or the first 3 months. And then slowly in the second quarter, they start learning the nouns, pronouns, gain vocabulary, and slowly go on to sentence formation. And in this way, they progress the end of the first year, where they're able to translate simple English sentences to Sanskritam and vice versa. Now, in the second year of the program, they learn what we call vibhakti, declensions, and the different moods and tenses, and thereby are able to write and use Sanskritam more efficiently. The third year goes deeper into grammar, where they learn things like sandhis and use of passive voice. And at this stage is when the student will start parsing shlokas, take any text, take the shlokas, be able to parse it and be able to give the meaning for those shlokas in Samskritam. So you'll be able to translate it and you'll be able to give its meaning, summarize it in both Sanskritam and English by the end of the third year. The fourth year is when we are preparing to dive deeper into the grammar and giving the student the entire Sanskritam knowledge that is required to move into the master's program, which is also offered at HUA. So by the end of this fourth year, we aim to prepare the student to be able to engage at a master's level Sanskritam program. So that is the gist of what our Sanskritam program offers. So why Sanskritam at HUA? Now, most places that teach Sanskritam start off teaching in Sanskritam, and many find it very difficult to, I'll stop the slideshow for a bit, just to give an idea as to why Sanskritam at HUA. Sanskritam elsewhere, mostly you will find, is taught in Sanskritam to begin with. So we slowly, gradually move into teaching in Sanskritam. Initially, the courses are taught in English and the grammar and everything is explained in English. And slowly, when the comfort level increases, when the student is able to comprehend in Sanskritam well, we slowly move to start explaining the concepts in Sanskritam. So at the end of the fourth year, the student will be able to understand all the concepts taught in Sanskritam itself, Sanskritam taught in Sanskritam, but not at the outset. And that is a requirement for the master's program in Sanskritam, which is completely taught in Sanskritam. But we begin with teaching everything in English. This is so for both the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency as well as the micro certificate in spoken Sanskritam. We start off by offering it in English. So the translations are provided for everything that is being said. Now going back to the slide. Now the requirement, as I mentioned, the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency does not have any special requirement except that we take students high school onwards. So younger students will find it difficult to fit into this group, and that is the reason we are discouraging students younger than 14. And parents' help may be needed to navigate LMS and things like that. Now, a minimum of 22.5 credit hours is required to earn the program certificate, which means that out of the 16 courses, at least 15 must be taken to get the program certificate. However, for those who say, I have studied Sanskritam earlier and I would like to continue my Sanskritam journey here, there is lateral entry available. So we will test you, we'll give you a test to see where you are and then absorb you into the appropriate phase. So let's say you know some Sanskritam, but you would like to brush up your vibhaktis, then you would probably enter into the intermediate phase. That's the second year. And if you say, I know my vibhaktis very well, but I would like to brush up on sandhis and use of pratyaya, then your entry would be into the third year of the program. That is also an option. You don't have to start all the way at the beginning at the Devanagari script itself. For those who don't know anything, they can start at the Devanagari script. And for those who say, I know Devanagari script, I would like to, but I don't know Sanskritam. Yes, you can skip that first quarter and continue from the second one onwards, where you start from learning the Sanskritam language and we are not going into the script itself. Now, Dr. Suryanarayan Nandaji will give you a little bit more about this spoken Sanskritam. After that, I will take up about how to register, what are the other things that we have to discuss about the CPSP and the MCSS together. So, Narayan Mahodaya. Mahodaya, would you like me to share the slide or leave it?
No. Namaste, everyone. So I'm starting with Sanskrit, so that's how you can be familiar. So, Namaste. Vayam sarve janimah, we all know that to know any subject, to read or to learn anything, kimapi pathitum jnatum yadi ichha asti, तर्हि प्रथमं भाषा ज्ञानम आवश्यकम. The first thing, if you want to learn something without depending on interpretation or something, independently you want to know something by yourself, the first thing is we should know the language the book is written in. To know the language, the first step is the natural. There are two ways to learn a language: the artificial way and the natural way. The natural way to learn a language is the way a human being learns. And it is in childhood, he or she first speaks the language. He or she first speaks the language. Then gradually, when he or she goes to the school or college, the formal education, then he or she learns the grammars, literatures to be familiar with the language. The artificial way start from the grammar. So, Samskritam api tathaiva yadi shastra jnanam ichhamah vayam tari Samskrita bhashayaha jnanam avashyakam. Bhashayaha jnana nimittam prathamam bhashanasya avashyakam asti. Bhashanena prayojanam. We have to speak. So, because Sanskrit is not that a language in nowadays, everyone is speaking or many people are speaking. That's how, if janaha ye Samskrita bhashayaha jnanam icchanti, prathamam tu ye shastrani patitum icchanti, te Samskritam janiyu. They must know the Sanskrit language, those who are interested to learn the Shastras. To learn the language, Prathamam Samskritena Sambhashanam Karenyam. They have to speak in Sanskrit. That's how the idea comes of a spoken Sanskrit class. Kaschit kimapi na janati, a person doesn't know anything. Yeah, Devanagari script is a must. That is because that's how you will be familiar with that. He or she can join the spoken Sanskrit class without any prior knowledge. Samskrita Sambhashana Kakshayam Prathamam Vayam Samskritena Sambhashanam Shikshamahe. We learn how to speak Sanskrit words, how to introduce ourselves first. Then you will learn some small vocabulary, just how to make small sentences without going through the details of grammatical rules, etc. We are in spoken Sanskrit class. We are not going to touch a single grammar part directly. Everything will be based on grammar, don't be worried. But without teaching the grammar, the way our children, we all learn our mother tongue. Mother doesn't teach us the grammar. We learn the grammar later. In the same way, in spoken Sanskrit class, we will learn the language, we will speak, we will write, we will sing, we will recite the shlokas. But without going through the grammatical part. That part comes later when you will join the Sanskrit grammar class. So, कामपि भाषां शिक्षितुं तत्र सोपान चतुष्टयम् अस्ति. There are 4 stairs to learn any language. The first, prathamam bhavati, sravanam. Listen carefully. what the teacher is saying, what people are saying, or if you are going through YouTube or anything, just listen, practice to listen. That is Shravanam, most important thing. The Dvitiyam Bhavati Sambhashanam. Then speak with anyone or yourself. If you don't get chance to speak, then write. That's how you can express your feeling in language. Sambhashanam. Sambhashanena bhavasya prakasha bhavati. You can express your feeling in that language. The third thing is pathanam. Read. Read not the scriptures. The simple story, the books written in a very simple way. Mostly stories, daily activities like this. Read. Then lekhanam, write it. So Shravanam, Sambhashanam, Pathanam, Lekhanam. Speak, listen, speak, read, and write. These are the 4 stages to practice a language. So remember, we don't focus on the details of grammar. It will be a very entertaining way. The class will be full of entertainment. Everyone has to say something. The teacher will there to guide you how to speak small sentences. That's how we learn the language. Or ante, at the end, I'm saying it. Maulika Jnanartham Bhasha Jnanam Ishyate means to know the original knowledge, the knowledge of language is needed. Bhasha Jnanartham Bhashanam Ishyate, to know a language, speaking is essential. Bhashanartham Abhyasaha Ishyate. To speak that language, we need to practice it. Practice. The focus of the spoken Sanskrit class is just practice and practice and practice. So that will be the methodology or highlight of the spoken Sanskrit class. Now, Parvati ji or anything?
Dhanyawada, Mhoday. So going back to the structure of these programs themselves. Now, this certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency, as I mentioned, it lasts 4 years, and each year is broken down into 4 parts, and with each level, and it only goes in a linear fashion, so one cannot skip any of these courses and move to the next level. They have to go one after the other. As I already mentioned, for the program certificate, to earn a program certificate, 22.5 hours is needed. So with each course, I've previously said what will be covered, and on the website you can find our the program goals, each course learning objectives. They can be found on our website in case you're interested in looking at each one of them in detail. This is the first one. And the advanced and proficiency phase are the 3rd and the 4th years. After this, as I already mentioned, there is the master's program that is offered. Once the last 16th course is completed, a student can take what we call the certificate Sanskrit proficiency test to move into the master's program. The master's program, however, is taught completely in Sanskritam, and it assumes knowledge of spoken and written Sanskritam from the student. Now, for those who wish to register, this is the, if you want to take a screenshot, we have our, the number, the contact number, and the email address. All information is available on our website, but if you still want to talk to someone, you have the phone number. Spoken Sanskritam course, again, is divided into 6 courses, 1.5 year duration. Each course lasts for 3 months. And when I say a quarter, it comprises of 10 weeks of 1.5 hour lessons per week. And in addition to that, with the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency, there will be assignments given. And in spoken Sanskritam, this will be more like as Mahodaya mentioned, it's a Sambhashanam. We will put you in touch with the rest of the group, so you will have a peer group to talk to in Sanskritam. The main thing about spoken Sanskritam is you need someone to speak the language with. So we will make sure that you have a group that you can converse with in Sanskritam. I'll go back to, this is what Mahodaya was talking, Shravanam, listening, Sambhashanam, the conversation, then comes the Pathanam and Lekhanam. This is usually the mode in which a language needs to be studied. Most people start with the reading and writing and then try to go into the listening and conversation. But the best way to go about learning a language is first listen, try to speak, and then read and write. Now, when does the new batch of spoken Sanskritam as well as the CPSP start? The spoken Sanskritam first batch is scheduled to begin on October 13th, and it will happen on Sundays. So it does not just begin on Sundays. These classes are going to be held every week on Sunday evenings, 8 p.m. EST. And the CPSP first batch, the one that starts with the Devanagari script, will be held every Wednesday starting October 16th. Again, the time is 8 p.m. EST. Now, if a majority of those who register ask for an earlier time or something, we can make that change. But for now, the class is scheduled to happen at 8 p.m. EST. Both these classes are scheduled to happen at 8 p.m. EST. Now, let me stop sharing and we can take questions if there are. Ankurji, do we have any questions on the chat?
Not yet. No questions in the chat. Let me just launch our poll. Let us know if you're interested or not, and you can wait until you have your question asked and answered.
Ankurji, Vaishaliji is asking for the screenshot of the contact info. I will, once your this poll is done, I'll put that up again. So they can, whoever needs to take a screenshot of the contact info can take them.
Yeah, and we'll definitely, in the follow-up email, you'll have it. We'll put it in the chat.
Yes, maybe you can post it in the chat, so that will be easier for everyone.
Yeah, sorry, which contact info for you or for
info at
HUA.edu?
HUA.edu.
I'll put that right now. Mohanji from Orlando, thank you for joining. I know you were at Waves. I hope that went well. Justin from Poland, a regular, thank you for joining. Now here is the HUA.edu and the, yeah, please send us an email, ask for whatever questions if you don't feel comfortable asking now. Here's what question. Let's see. What is Raj asking? What is a typical time commitment? And if you miss a class, how do you make it up? Yeah.
Okay, I can answer that. All these classes are video recordings are available, typically 24 to 48 hours after the class. So if a class is missed, you will have the video to catch up with. That is not a problem. The time commitment, I would say, is 1.5 hours of class, a minimum of 3 hours outside of class would be needed to do the studies. So that's and again, I wouldn't say strictly 3 hours. It depends on each person. A little less or a little more does happen. In the initial stages, this is what you would definitely need to put in, because you're learning a new language, and unless you keep touch with it throughout the week, it would be lost. If you are looking at it as, okay, 1.5 hours a week, and I come back, okay, this Sunday, and then until next Sunday, I do not touch it and come back on next Sunday, it will not work. You need to do a little bit of it. Try to spread this 3 hours that we are asking as maybe half an hour per day, so that you are in constant touch with the language, especially for spoken Sanskritam. That little bit of listening or the little bit of trying to speak is definitely needed. And just attending the classes on one day, once a week, is not going to help.
Yeah, I must say I tried to get into it. I started at the beginning, the Devanagari script, but unless you're going to put in the time and really learn and apply yourself, it is, even from the beginning, very difficult. There's the new batches for CPSP.
Someone was asking to take a screenshot of this contact info, so I just put this up. So if anyone wants to take a screenshot, we can do this.
Right, and so these are different programs, right? The MCSS and the CPSP. So Bob, yeah.
In addition, if there is anyone who wants to gain entry into the intermediate level or the advanced level, this particular quarter, we are opening that for enrollment as well. It is usually not opened every quarter, but this one we are opening the intermediate and the advanced level, the second and the third year programs as well, third year courses as well, the beginner level in beginning stage of those for enrollment as well. So in case you know some Samskritam and you would like to gain lateral entry into the program, this quarter is a good one to do that. The MCSS is not embedded within the CPSP. These are two different separate courses. For those who wish to just learn the spoken Sanskritam, there are many who don't want to go into the grammar. They enroll only into the MCSS. But there are those who want to seriously pursue Sanskritam, go into the master's program. For them, enrolling into both of these really does help. Because knowing knowing the grammar is important, as well as the spoken component is important as well to communicate. In the Masters of Arts in Samskritam, the faculty, they speak to the students only in Samskritam. So if you had a question to ask, you would be required to ask in Samskritam, and the entire course is going to be taught in Samskritam. So just doing the CPSP sometimes we have seen is not enough. The skill to speak Sanskritam is not acquired, and therefore the spoken Sanskritam course is also something that one would want to take in addition to the CPSP.
So a couple follow-ups. If you could put the screenshot again, and then the timing. When does the beginner, where people enter from the start, when's the next opportunity to jump on board at the start?
This is on, as I mentioned, the next the fall quarter begins on Sunday, October 13th, and that is when all our courses are going to begin. The first batch of the spoken Sanskritam starts on Sunday, October 13th at 8 p.m. EST, and the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency with Devanagari script, that starts on Wednesday, October 16th, again 8 p.m. EST. The classes are 1.5 hours in duration. One is typically able to log in 10 minutes prior to the class. And the class sometimes with questions goes on a little after that 1.5 hour period too. If there are questions, I do stay back. The faculty does stay back to answer those questions, and the class might go a little longer. So that's the time you should be allotting to the Zoom sessions every week. And for the intermediate and the advanced courses, the intermediate course happens on Tuesdays, and it happens at 6 p.m. EST. And the advanced phase happens on Thursdays at 8 p.m. EST. So in case anyone was looking into lateral entries.
And so there's no age specific, right? Vaishali is asking, yes, parents can join, grandparents can join, all ages can join as long as they're up to the task.
So we have made exceptions for children who are under 14 too. I have a 12-year-old who enrolled last year, but that would be in case the parent is there to help the child get through it, because there are lots of things that the child needs to do on the LMS. Of course, nowadays schools do train children to do things on the online stuff and submission of assignments. But still, for a child to be responsible to submit those assignments without reminders and to be able to participate in a class that has a group of adults. Now, we usually recommend that the parent takes that responsibility if it's a child who's over 10 and between the age of 10 and 14. Under 10, definitely we do not take any student under the age of 10.
And then Aryaji is asking about the career after these courses and the opportunities and programs or opportunities in that way. So please share on that.
Career-wise, I would say after the certificate program in Sanskrit proficiency, you would want to take up the master's level as well. So once it's the same as any master's program, once you have a master's, and then you can probably pursue a PhD and have a doctorate, and then you probably can teach. And then when you have a master's, there are so many other areas where you can use them. There are people who use their Sanskritam knowledge to study the scriptures or to put in translations for the scriptures where it's not available. Our Masters in Arts program has students from different fields, and they try to integrate the language into the fields, in their own field, and you'll see innovative ways in which people use it in their career. So to name a few, there are those who are right now trying to take this Ashtadhyayi, which is the book by Panini on Paninian grammar, and put it into, I can't really say talk much about the computer programming and language. I don't know much about it, but they're trying to take that into and turn into some machine language. So the applications are endless. It depends on the person, what all you have studied, the other areas that you have knowledge in, and you can integrate it, and sky is the limit. And for the CPSP class on weekends, no, there are some CPSP classes that happen on weekends, but this particular one that is going to start in the fall quarter is going to be offered only on Wednesday evenings. So if you need a weekend one, you can definitely write to info@hua.edu and let them know that you prefer a weekend one, and we will definitely get back to you when a weekend course is offered. 8 p.m. EST, 8 p.m. It is not 10:30 EST. Yes, 8 p.m. EST to 9:30 EST is when typically the classes happen. And as for parents joining as well, the one who is enrolling, if the child is enrolling, we are not forcing the parents to enroll as well. Since it's a Zoom class, the parent is welcome to sit with the child in the class. That does happen, and that is okay to help the child out with whatever the instructions are being given in class, and to help the child focus. Sometimes that does happen. That's a problem. So yes, that is okay for a parent to sit with the child. Not okay for the parent to do their assignments though. It is not 8 p.m. IST. It would be 6:30 a.m. IST. No, that depends on whether it's daylight saving times, begins or ends. So that time would change. So that's the reason we keep talking in Eastern time zone. It is 8 p.m. EST. Any other questions for Ashwat ji or Dr. Suryanarayanan ji?
As far as career after, I'd like to make one observation. That is, there is always scope for a person learned in Samskritam to, as you mentioned, Parvatiji, to teach. Another thing is to interpret. You study the Shastra, and people will you with their questions about how do I handle this situation? What does our scripture say? You can do quite a bit of counseling also. Those are areas which, and also my own offering in HUA is chanting of the Veda mantras. So in addition to knowing the Veda mantras, you also learn the meaning of the Veda mantras. In all my classes, I always give the meaning of the Veda mantras, and that also we do in Sanskrit, which means if you were to take the chanting of the Veda mantra classes, in addition to the spoken Sanskrit, in addition to the certificate course, then what you could do is you can also take up to the task of doing puja yajna for your family and your friends. And in those occasions, you will be able to use your Sanskrit knowledge and also your Shastra knowledge to actually instruct, enlighten, and teach your fellow beings. And then, of course, depending on the marketing model, there is also, you can also earn money out of it. For example, you do Paurohitya, you do actually a ritual for somebody, and then there will be possibility of earning some dakshina, which So what I meant to say was, it is not that's not the driving force. The driving force is not money. The driving force is your knowledge and the contribution you can make. And incidentally, there is also an income. So therefore, it is dharmartha, kama, moksha, all of them will be served by this study.
Thank you, Ashwaji. There's a question about the fee for the CPSP. The fee is mentioned in on the website.
So are we also talking?
Ashwaji, I did not
Are we
hear.
also talking about the retreat, Parvatiji? December retreat?
We are going to talk about that in a separate webinar. Okay. That will happen next month. So for the fee for the CPSP is mentioned on the website.
We have an aware of it.
Yes, there's a separate webinar, and that's the reason why that's not mentioned here, Ashwaji. Again, going back to the fee of the CPSP, that's mentioned on our website. And what you see on the website would probably just give you the fee for the course. But if you want to enroll into the entire program, then the cost changes. So if you want further details, you could always use those contact details to get in touch with our Director of Registrations, Pragya Vats, and she'll be able to tell you how to register for the program, or if you want to register for a course. And there's an option of registering for phases, different payment modes. So you can call to get those information. And all of them are online course. There is no in-person engagement here with respect to these programs. But as Ashwaji was mentioning, we will soon, in December, we plan to have a retreat that is going to happen in Florida. And when these retreats are places where we come in person, and the retreat is you get to meet everyone, and you get to meet the faculty, you get to meet your peers, and the retreat is open. This particular retreat that's coming up in December is open for HUA students as well as non-HUA students. So for others, families and friends as well. So please, keep an eye out for the webinar information. The webinar will happen next month. Ankurji, do you want to share the date of the webinar here for those in case they want to?
Did we schedule the date already?
It is scheduled for October 19th.
Okay, so you got it.
That's
October
going to happen
19th.
on Saturday. Yes, October 19th.
Yes.
And that is, I was just mentioning this because everything else happens online, but there are opportunities to, when retreats happen, to meet in person as well. And during the retreat, everything that is taught is going to happen in person. But that's not part of the course. It's not part of the requirement of the course. These are just for those who wish to participate in that. There is no compulsion to attend these retreats or come in person. You can complete the whole program online. Have we answered all the questions, Ankurji? Oh, I see another question.
There is a question.
It is, yes. I see that there's a question about MCSS and CPSP taking concurrently. Yes, it can be. At any point, you can enroll into the CPSP and MCSS program. Some prefer to start at the beginning itself, do both of enroll at the same time. But that totally depends on the time that you have to offer. You can take up the CPSP, and then anywhere along the line also you can enroll into MCSS. CPSP takes 4 years, and the spoken Sanskritam takes 1.5 years. So any time between that also you could enroll. There are those who enroll in their 3rd year because they can finish that, and before they go into the master's program, they had enough knowledge of 2 years of Samskritam before they went into the spoken Sanskritam program, and then right after as they get out of that and they finish that, they will go into the master's program. So that is how most people choose, but that's not how everyone chooses. It depends on your time, how much time you have to give to 2 programs, because both of them would require you to attend classes. Both of them would require you to spend some time outside of class as well.
Okay, if you haven't filled out the poll, please do. About half of our participants have. Okay, I think that is nearing the end. One of the things that I heard growing up, Sanskrit is a dead language. Like they try to kill it. That's what it is. But it is kind of our duty now. It's part of the Hindu Renaissance, the rejuvenation, and there's so much, right? Kalyanji always talks about the millions and millions of Sanskrit manuscripts that are just left untranslated, unexplored in so many different aspects, right? In Ayurveda, in, of course, the Vedas and the Upanishads, there's so many layers to it, but there's just millions of other ones, literally millions, that we haven't explored. So that's something where, again, it's not a dead language, and it's up to us to be stewards, to pick it up, to study, to learn, to share, because it's such a beautiful, important, powerful language.
It is certainly not a dead
That's-
language. There's an entire village in Karnataka where people speak the language. Everybody speaks. That's language of that
That's
entire
very
village.
true, and that's also something. And and to share a experience from my own family, my grandfather, as Ankurti mentioned, was the Asthana Vidwan of Mysore court, and a very close friend of his was Shama Shastri. And Shama Shastri was actually the curator of the collection of manuscripts of the Mysore palace. And there he found Kautilya's Arthashastra. So the translation of Kautilya's Arthashastra happened because there were scholars who dedicated their lives for Sanskrit. And Arthashastra actually not only revolutionized Indian thought, but it also revolutionized the concept of management itself, administration, law. So there must be tremendous amount of hidden gems, and this is also actually one of the projects for the Hindu University, that wherever certain manuscripts are available, wherever certain rare books are available, to pool our resources of the university, the learned people in the faculty and among the students who can actually take up the publication of those translations, commentaries. So there is a lot that we can do to actually bring back the glory of Sanskrit. As I mentioned in the introduction, it is Samskrita and Samskriti are the two glories of being Bharatiya. Don't say being Indian, because a non-Indian can be very much a Bharatiya if that person is dedicated to that culture.
For that matter, Ashwitji, most of our students are not Indian in the sense of being from India. Almost everybody is from the United States of America. And we do have some students from Europe and other places as well. But mostly they don't live in Bharat. And not only that, there are many whose native tongue is European language, and it is not even an Indian language. And they are doing very well in our programs. They are able to, I would say they put in a lot more work than people who, with a little background of Indian language, to tell the truth, because they sit back, there's a complacency that, I know a little bit of the language, maybe it's easy for me, there's no such thing. So people who put in that effort, I see them doing so well. There are, as I said, so many whose native tongue is European language, and they are still, their pronunciation is so good. They are able to recite mantras. We'll put those up for you to listen, as a sample to, and so to see how for a person, and we are not talking about them taking 4 years to learn that. We're talking about them taking 3 months, 3 to 6 months, and being able to recite simple mantras flawlessly.
So in that area of a total stranger to Sanskrit language. I had recorded about 25 years ago the chanting of the Rudra mantra, and a Slovakian gentleman whom I have not seen yet actually learned the chanting of the Rudra from the recording. And then he actually formed the Veda Union of Europe. And then he has taught a number of students to chant. And then they meet once every month in a different capital in Europe, and they have a one-day chanting session. So you can imagine what an influence can be made by one or two people. Parvati ji, Dr. Nanda, you know, the Saraswati you start. If you go to the origin of the River Ganga, then you will see it's just a trickle, but then later on it will gain a momentum. So therefore, this effort of introducing Samskritam, this effort of even 10 people, 20 people, 100 people learning Samskritam, it is going to start that flow of Saraswati. And we do not know where it will surface.
That is so true, Ashwaji. Ankurji, I think there are no more questions.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to do some closing thoughts? I just love that last sentence about the trickle becoming a flow, right? Not just in Samskritam, but what we're doing at Hindu University of America. We started, 5 years or rejuvenated 5 years ago. And I think we've gone beyond just the trickle. Now we have this critical momentum. We're growing. We're adding programs in all these important dharmic fields. And so I'm just glad to be a part of it. Thank you for all being a part of it, webinar attendees, faculty. And again, we want to be that connective tissue as Hindu University of America so that we turn this dharma into a great river of knowledge that's shared and spread around the world. That's a very cool story about in each European capital, they meet monthly. Wow, that's pretty amazing. All right, Justin from Poland is saying there's Sanskrit radio too.
If you go and Google Veda Union of Europe, you will see what activities they are doing.
All right, wonderful. That's it from me. Let me hand it to each of you to do maybe closing statements. The poll is still up. Let us know if you're interested in either of the programs, the courses, and we'll get into those follow-ups later. Thank you, everyone, for attending. It's always my pleasure. Now let's hear from our faculty and panelists for some closing thoughts.
Suryanarayanji, would you like to give your closing thoughts?
धन्यवादः सर्वेभ्यः अत्र वेबिनार् मध्ये आगन्तुं संस्कृतभाषायाः ज्ञानम् अति आवश्यकम्. It's well needed, and this is the age also, the age of Sanskrit, because many people, mostly the educated people, want to know deeply about their culture, their religion, their philosophy, their spirituality, everything by themselves, not by others' view. So, Hindu University is there to help everyone, anyone, and language is a most important factor in this case. Please try to learn anytime through spoken Sanskrit or grammar, and anyway, just enroll yourself anywhere to be familiar with Sanskrit language, be expert in language, and then you will see, once you are good in Sanskrit language, you will see the doors will be opened for a great ocean. There are hundreds, thousands, millions types of scriptures, different type of knowledges, schools of thoughts. The Pandora box will be open for you. So please think about it. Those who are part of the system, congratulations to you. And everyone, those who want to learn something, please join any of the Sanskrit class. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Shanti Patena Sampanam Kurmah.
Astu Mahoday.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, thank you.
Namaste, and Guruji. Thank you.